So now I'm gonna do mini soldered frames. So I prefer to use my square 18 gauge. Um, I believe it's half hard. It doesn't really, like, as long as it's not like super fucking hard. It might be fucking dead soft for all I know. I can't really remember. I'm sorry, but I know that if I'm not using the 18 gauge, I'm using 20 gauge half hard. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is cut a piece, and I want to leave enough so that I have room for the bail. And then I need to consider what size tube I'm going to use. You don't always have to use tube. I like using tube for like a central little focal accent that's just like a cute little thing. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut this and then shape it. What I would recommend is using graph paper and having it laid out so you can follow those lines and make sure that it's, you know, equal on all the sides, but I don't have my graph paper and I'm winging it right now, so just bear with me. From here, I like to leave the top open for my bails. You can solder the top together and just wrap half round around it for a bail. There's so many different options. That's really up to you and what you want to do here. But basically now what I'm going to do is add crossbars, like soldered crossbars going across so that I have anchor points, and then I can put a tube, pop a tube like in between them. So yeah. Okay, so what I did here is I clipped another piece of wire and then I kind of shaped it to my frame like this so that I don't have to deal with just pieces going across that could shift. And then basically from here what you're going to do is add flux, add your little chip pieces, and then fire it, and just be really careful because this shit can just fucking melt like crazy. It's kind of similar situation as before. We're gonna heat around it, and I'm gonna have my wire solder just like right next to me just in case I need it. And if you have issues with chip solder jumping off from the bubbles in the beginning, just try to heat around the piece first from like up and then get closer as you go down, and then you shouldn't have as many issues. Or again, just let it kind of dry a tiny bit before you start. That always helps. Here I'm gonna just cut and file, cut off excess as close as I can. You want to make sure you round the edges on the back so you're not stabbing anyone. Okay. So we're left with this, and then from here I'm gonna see if I can add the tube setting either here or here, depending on what I'm thinking. And you can adjust those wires a little bit, like if you need it to be, like I'm gonna adjust a tiny bit. Well, I like to sand the outside of my tube just a little bit on either side where it's gonna be soldered, just so that it has a better connection there. And then we'll go back to the soldering station and we'll get it soldered in there. Okay, so I put the bezel or the tube setting there. I have chip on either side of the tube so that in hopes that it will solder to either side. Now you have to be really careful because these guys can melt pretty easily too. So you want to heat around and like on the bottom and try not to go right in the top there. I'll show you. Should be good. Now, pretty much I'm just gonna pop it in my pickle pot for a second just to clean it up. But what you're left with is this, well, it's kind of lopsided, but it's okay. I'm just trying to show you guys. With this frame here. So from here, you know, if you get your bezel punch set thingy that I was telling you about, it's 18 punch system. You can use that to set stones for the tube. You might need to adjust the seat. That's a whole other thing we can go over at some point. So my video got cut short, sorry. Basically what I'm left with is this. And like what I said, you can do the tube setting. You can also do this without a tube setting, it doesn't matter. I just add them because I can and they're fun. Maybe a little bit more cleaning up on the back. But besides that, just friggin' do whatever you want. Again, you can do whatever you want with the bail. There's frame for wire wrapping on top, obviously, which I'm going to do. Once you get to this point, it's just nice because you have a frame to work off of. You can do whatever you want. So yeah. And we can do like more complicated soldered frames. This is just like for mini stuff. Like I can just bang these out and have a bunch of minis made up to go. Woohoo!